Welcome to Channel NMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now, are you interested about migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel? So once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one of getting all the insight. Now, in this video, I would like to take a revision and discussion about skill assessment, migration skill assessment, which is the very vital key component and the first thing that you should be doing. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video again for 2021 is over the past 2 years, I've been receiving too many inquiries asking whether one would have opportunity or chances to actually migrate to Australia. Now, obviously my first question back to them is, have you done your migration skill assessment? Because under the law, any occupational skill, under the general skill migration, you are required to have your skill assessment done under the regulated authority of that the Department of Immigration has regulated with. So if you haven't got your migration skill assessment done, asking the questions might not actually get you anywhere. So let's have a look where you should be able to find yourself under your occupation and which authority that you should go. So this video is dedicated to show you where you should be going, and perhaps if you do need a professional service, you can always inquire and consult with your migration agent or lawyers, or perhaps you can leave a comment right down below. So anyway, let's jump into the first page, the most important page, which I had personally endeavored, because this web page created by the Department of Immigration is actually very good. As you can see, the title here is Skill Occupation List. So how you can find this, it's pretty easy. Obviously, all you need to do is Google Home Affairs space skill occupation list. You should be able to land yourself here. So this page actually included every single occupation that is under all type of different skills visas, that include independent, general skill, regional, and the temporary employer sponsor type of visa. That's all in there. So it's a beauty. It's a very easy access, whereby they have putting in a search bar here. All you need to do is, for example, how I type in social, it would jump out any occupation that has social word in there, and then you will be able to find how you could access with this occupation, with what type of visa and what sort of occupation list they are in, and then which assessing authority they're in. So basically what we are conducting here is we are focusing on the assessing authority. For example, if I put in chef, let's have a look. Okay, chef, then you need to go to TRA. Okay, and then if I put in what else, let's see, nurse. Here we go. Is you need to go to a NMAC. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take you into all these pages and have a look what sort of skill assessing authorities is out there. Obviously, I don't think I'll be able to cover all of them, but I'm giving you a hint and where to go. So the most accessible for trades, people actually come to trades recognition Australia. So that obviously covers all the tradesmen's work. For example, carpenters. What else? A chef, and also what's the other one? Pastry cook and all the trades, plumber, all that in there. So as you can see, what you can do, you can actually click into Pathfinder and actually find out where you should be going, because it's not a really good website and design to flow how data should flow. The reason why is they have so many programs. Now you'll be really confused which one you should be going, because they got job ready program, they got TSS skill assessment, they got offshore skill assessment, they got migration skill assessment. The problem here that I have is that I can't really distinguish between offshore skill assessment and migration skill assessment. Now, what's the difference between them? So obviously the Pathfinder will actually tell you where to go. Now, even though if you wanted to go deep into every single program, you click in there, obviously there are criteria detailing how you actually go through about it. So that's for Trade Recognition Australia. Now, next one is the biggest skill assessing authority. It's Vet Assess. You might heard of them because I believe that 70% of the occupation for migration purpose in Australia are required to go through Vet Assess. So basically it covers predominantly all the managerial role in here. And obviously if you follow my playlists for skill assessments, I should have a lot of other detail going into different type of skill assessing authority. Now, this video for 2021 is basically giving you an overarching overview how you could actually identify your skill assessing authority and go to them to apply for your skill assessment. Now, ensure that the skill assessment is also valid for about 2 years, sometimes 3 years, different depend on different type of skills. So now the Vet Assess, they continually upgrading their website, so it's a much better navigating website that you can see here. So as you can see right here, it says check if Vet Assess is your assessment authority. It basically take you to a search engine again. So that I think is very user friendly, and it's actually doing very good job on the IT part of it. I'll take you to the IT skill assessing authority very soon and have a look there. Now, jumping to the next is the Engineers Australia. Now, Engineers Australia has been one of the most commonly asked skill assessing authority. Now, the only thing that you require to do is you need to find out which pathway that you're in. So choosing your pathway. So I just clicked it in. Anyway, it's all good. Now it does at the end here, it basically telling us whether or not you are either you're studying in Australia, and generally the courses provided by the Australian institutions should fit into all these criteria, and they are Washington, Sydney, and Dublin or Court. Basically, that's under the international convention where the Accord actually bundles all these internationally renowned university in their courses. If you are studying in those courses, then you'll be able to access to straight approval. Now, the last one myself is just covering now. That's right up on the top right there. You can see that CDR. CDR has been commonly asked because it's what it says, competency demonstration report. So some people might enter into course where the course is not recognized by either Washington or Sydney or Dublin Court. Now, the problem with that one is we believe that you have the skill and knowledge, but then because the courses that you study is not within the international convention or things like that, so you're required to submit 3 reports that you previously done, 3 projects you previously done to demonstrate the specific engineering knowledge or skill that you have in order to actually get your assessment passed. So it's not impossible. I've seen people done it. So it's just additional assessments required. So that's for Engineers Australia. Now, moving next is Australian Computer Society. Now, very exciting. They are the migration assessment authority for all the IT professionals. However, I commonly laugh about how they address the website, because the website navigation is not really well done here. So let me click that cookie away. So they got introduction here. And they'll talk about global talent independent program too. Then you will think about this web page is done, but actually the meat, the actual content is right here. Is at the dark part. Generally, people will feel the dark part will be the end for the contact us detail, right? Anyhow, just a little bit of laugh. Now the detail here you should really go into this one, the guideline, which will detail telling you how you actually fit, how your overseas IT skills. Generally, from my experience and knowledge about the skill assessing criteria under ACS, the overseas work experiences is not it's less favorable than gaining your assessment and experiences in Australia. So it's not that they don't count it, but the point towards counting it will be less. You will see what I mean if you jump in there, or perhaps you can actually search for my previous video, which talk specifically about Australian Computer Society. So that's for ACS, assessing all the IT professions. Now jumping to the next is ANMAC, Australian Nursing Midwifery Accreditation Council. They basically assess all the nurses, that's including registered nurse. Now you may see here with modified skill assessment and modified plus and full skill assessment. Now what's the difference between them? So if you have studied and accomplished your nursing courses in Australia, you'll be actually accessed through modified skill assessment, whereby it's modified because it's a less assessment required. Modified plus, I think that's for let's just click in there. I think that's for New Zealand, APRA, and they require a little bit more if you are not registered. So you may have been registered as Australian registered nurse, but if you haven't been registered, you will go through this way. And the full skill assessment is for nurses from these countries. They just read them out. Canada, Hong Kong, Ireland, UK, and United States. And all the other countries, they are not. You have to take another route and come to Australia to study for courses. So all the other countries and nurses will not be counted here. Now moving on, next is Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority. Now that's a very, very long name for this assessing authority. Now it's a new one because previously childcare and early childcare workers and the childcare center managers were previously assessed by Trade Recognition Australia. I don't know how that ended up there, but anyhow, they managed to get a new assessing authority, and they basically assess whether or not you are eligible as a childcare worker there. Now, the only issue with childcare center manager and childcare worker is that they require work experiences. Basically, if you study in Australia, you will only get 1.5 year of the graduate work visa, and that is not enough to actually meet the skill assessment requirement. Now that's another problem. I think that's a common problem for chef and cook and all the trades skill as well. Will not the Department of Immigration or Home Affairs and the government of Australia will get that amended in the future? Don't know, but hopefully they'll get that done. Otherwise, these occupation is just not favorable from the policy side of it. Okay, moving next, looking into AASW, it's Australian Association of Social Workers. So if you're interested, or if you've been conducting social works, this is the assessing authority that you're required to go through. So as you can see, they assess your social workers qualification, international or Australian. And they got a lot of thing over here. I noticed that English language requirement requires you to actually pass IELTS of level 7. So if you don't have that, you won't be able to pass the assessment. So that's It's a fairly easy use web page. Straightforward. As you can see, English requirement, overseas student, an applicant from New Zealand, and the fees, and that's it. And the form, just download, complete them, and send it. And obviously, you are required to. It's best that you consult with a migration agent or migration lawyer first before you do anything, because you don't want to waste your money doing things that won't work anyway. Now, moving next is the Australian Psychological Society. So this is where all the psychologists from the name is to assess their skills, whether or not they meet the standards that the Australian government requires. So again, it's pretty straightforward. I believe from my knowledge and experience, obviously English required to be IELTS of level 7, and you are required to have a bachelor and a master degree in order to actually get this assessment done. And also, as a registered psychologist, you're required to have those qualifications too. Now, the last bit is that I want to introduce is AACA. There's so many AA, but anyway, AACA is for the architects. So some architect might want to come here. It's not. It's pretty straightforward. The only challenges here for architect, well, I mean, if you're an architect, you should have this, is that you should have a portfolio ready and get an interview. So they are a couple ways, a couple stages. I mean, overseas qualification assessment. So if they do recognize overseas qualifications, and then they go through stages by stages. So they need to make sure that you are what you say, and also you pass the criteria. And generally, I've seen as an architect, you probably will have a lot extensive work experiences and portfolio to actually present to the board in order to pass that assessment. So let's summarize all this. Now, again, migration skill assessment is vital, and it's the first everything that you're required to do. If you haven't done it, you need to get that done. Otherwise, whatever the question or query that you have in regards to potential and chances to actually migrate to Australia, you are talking to the air. You really need to get migration skill assessment done before you get anything. And if you're not too sure, you still can actually get, just send it through. Get your assessment applied. Now, they will come back with a result. If you pass, you pass. If you don't, they will give you the reason why. Then that will provide you the key and the direction where you should go. Perhaps you're required to, conduct and pass more subjects in particular areas, or perhaps you're required to have, 3 months or 4 months more of work experience in order to actually meet the requirements. So that gives you the actual directions. Whether or not the result is positive or negative, it always provides you the directions. And like the reason skill migrations with the state nominations, sometimes they open up and they tell you they only got 3 days or 1 week or 2 weeks. Sometimes and you don't know when they open up. So a lot of people come to me and say, oh look, Queensland just opened it up yesterday, can we lodge it? My question is, have you done your skill assessment? Oh no, I haven't done it. Then bad luck, because once you put it in EOI, you're required to put in your skill assessments reference ID. So if you don't have that, you cannot even complete your EOI in order to submit for state skill migrations. Anyhow, what is your thought? Do you think the Skill Assessing Authority should be easier or harder for migration purpose? Over the past years, 10 years, every one of them has actually gotten harder and harder. Now, obviously, we are getting into a year of 2021. Do you think they should ease that? Anyway, leave your comment right down below, and I see you for next video. Goodbye.